Welcome everyone to a special Erie Talks episode where we'll delve into the details and tips of SPJIMR group interviews brought to you by SPJIMR students who were in your shoes last year. Hello everyone, I hope all of you are excited for this group interview format about SPJIMR group interviews.
So let's start with introductions. Can you all briefly introduce yourselves?
Sure, I can start. My name is Santosh Layya. I completed my bachelor's in business administration in finance from NYMS. I'm a current PGDM finance student over here at SPJIMR.
My name is Niharika Srikanth and I'm in the marketing specialization here at SPJIMR. And I have a bachelor of design degree from National Institute of Fashion Technology.
Hi, my name is Sanjay Goyal and I'm a current PGDM and PGDM student at SPJIMR. Before joining SPJIMR, I have completed my BTech in mechanical engineering.
Hi, I am Patli Mugappalli. I am a current student in operations and supply chain management. I was a chemical engineer from NIT Durgapur and worked as a process engineer at Vedanta Limited.
Hello everyone, my name is Akshat Agarwal and I am an electronics engineer from the Vellore Institute of Technology, and I had 3 years of work experience before coming here, and I am a part of the PGDM Information Management program at SPJIMR.
So thank you everyone. So coming to marketing specialization, in SP marketing spec is a mix of people with work experience as well as freshers. So Bhavya, can you tell us how did you go about your preparation for marketing spec and how was your overall GI1 experience?
Okay, so for my preparation, my minor in it was in communication, because of which I had a basic idea of how marketing works, and also I had completed a marketing internship before coming here. So that formed my base, and other than that, SPJIMR provided us with a handbook of glossary and everything that we can expect that can be related to us to our skill. But considering that, there is also need to know like what is going on in the world. And all of that said, your general knowledge also needs to be good, because ultimately in the interview you need to collect your answers to what is actually going on in the world.
Finance always has a lot of CAs and engineers also manage to get into finance. So Santosh, how did you go about preparing for finance interview being a fresher?
So I'll be honest, it was quite intimidating. SP was honestly one of my best calls, and I was hell-bent on converting the interview. So I talked to a few seniors from my batch, and then I got to know that GI1 is generally the technical now. They basically want to know how technically sound you are in your specialization. So for example, in finance, they'll ask you questions, basic questions about what you studied in college, if you have a commerce degree, or else if you're an engineer, they'll ask you about WACC or NPV. Those are some basic terms that you need to know if you want to get into this spec particularly. Apart from that, I had prepared in depth. I had read a lot of newspapers, a lot of books. As it turns out though, none of that came in handy during my interview, because SPJIMR is known for being a unique college, right? So they ended up asking me about astronomy, and I went on to talk about that for around 15 to 20 minutes. And so it goes to say that you can't really prepare for GI1 in the traditional way. All you can do is cover your bases technically and know what is happening in the current scenario as she talked about. So when you guys will be coming over here, I think the budget will be an important thing to know about. The politics that's going around, that will be certain topics that you need to read on before coming.
Thank you Santosh for the real insights. So coming to information management, so Akshat, what is the level of technical knowledge that is needed, and what are the important aspects that candidates looking forward to IELTS spec that they should be preparing?
Okay, so I would say for the IELTS spec, the batch is largely does have a kind of certain amount of work experience, not very heavy, but yeah, some of it helps. And you need to be technically not very sound, but you need to have a basic knowledge of, especially of the new emerging technologies which are coming, like say AI or blockchain and things like that. So you do need to have a know-how of that. And one of the surprising things in my interview, not meaning to scare you, but one of the interviewers got into the real depth of proper coding questions also, which was highly unexpected. Although the SP interview process is one of the sweetest processes that you'll go through, trust me on that. But still, and later I found out the professor was of the marketing area. So you never know who can test you on what. So be thorough with whatever your background is, and it's important to drive the interview in your direction. A lot of my interview was about my work experience because I chose to do it that way. So keep that in mind, and yeah, as they said, keep updated with the recent happenings, and if you have a lot of work experience, there might not be a need to focus a lot on your academics part, the undergraduate academics part. But yeah, you need to have a basic overview of the things.
Thank you, Akhil. So for operations and supply chain step partly, how do you go about preparing for GI1? And are there any specific technical terms and definitions that a candidate needs to be prepared with?
I have well prepared with the basic technical terms of the operations, related operations, and there are some terms related to supply chain as well. But to my surprise, my interview turned out to be very different. It started with my more focus on my work experience, and they asked the question, they're quite interested in my profile being a shop floor engineer. So it all concentrated on that, and they are basically asked the questions of applications of these terms in my daily in a day. How was my day? That was the basic question, and apart from that, they pulled out questions from introduction. The persons into operations and supply chain mostly come with experience, so it will be concentrated on the applications and the recent happenings and the effects of the recent happenings on your particular industry. And apart from that, you should be very, very thorough with whatever the mentionings you have in your application as well as your introduction. This would guide you through the interview because everything is random. There cannot be a fixed set of questions that can be asked. So if you are thorough with your profile, that would do.
Thank you so much, Parthi. So, Sanjay, being a fresher, how did you go about your preparation for the business management course?
So the PGDM BM course at SPJIMR basically focuses on the general management aspect. So according to my experience, none of the interviews at PGDM BM included a technical part. So you need to be more thorough with your profile. So according to so my experience basically included questions from my profile itself, and being a fresher, it was more directed towards my academics. So there were several questions related to the academics. And moreover, a lot was focused on the hobbies part. So I had mentioned like my hobby is table tennis. So they would ask several questions related to it. Moreover, you should also know if you are a fresher, like what are the emerging trends in your particular bachelor's. So like I was a mechanical engineer. So they asked me what are the recent trends in mechanical engineering. And coming to the work people with those who have work they should be very thorough with their work experience. Since coming to a general management program, they expect you to know what are the management and what are the processes that goes in your company. It should not be an entirely technical part, but at least at the basics of the general management.
So I have something to add apart from what you all said. So GI1 is about the technical thing that you all talked about, but it's also about having a narrative. So it's very important as to know why you want to pursue this course. Right? You have worked before this, you haven't worked before this, doesn't matter. I know people who have completed CFA level 2, yet they are pursuing marketing over here. I know people who have had an engineering background, who are in finance but want to pursue operations. So don't limit yourself as to what your experience has been before this. Just make sure to communicate what you want to do post MBA. Right, I can give you an example. There was a guy from, I think he had operations workex, and he was sitting for a marketing interview. Now, this guy had 99 percentile, and he was amazing with all the technical know-hows. But then he couldn't clearly communicate as to why he wanted to do the course. When it came to actually giving a marketing snippet from the market, he couldn't do that. So, covering the basis in that sense is very important. And knowing the why MBA question, everybody emphasizes on that, and it's not just saying, you need to know that question.
And to add on to that, during your interviews, be as honest as possible, because you'll be caught. You cannot say anything which is not in your profile, or you cannot add up things there. Be as honest as possible, and do not assess yourself on the amount of content you're speaking. It's about the quality of the content you speak.
Thank you, everyone. That was very insightful. While GI1 is more about your specialization, it can be specialization specific, GI2 was common for all of us. So what are some of the insights that you can give from your experience about GI2, and did you do any specific preparation for GI2?
So before we start, let me just give you a clarity in case you're still not clear about the format basically. So if you're still not clear about the GI, what GI is. It's a different process in a way. The interview will be interviewing 4 or 5 people at a time, but it is not a group discussion. You're not supposed to engage with the other interviewees. But you need to be attentive, and you need to listen to what they are saying, because the question can be directed to you, or what somebody answers, the interviewer may ask you to add your points on that, which is applicable in both the interviews 1 and 2. About GI2.
Coming to GI2, it is more of a kind of like the panelists want to know more about you. So in my interview, there was a brief discussion about euthanasia. So we had a lot of comments and a lot of debates going around it. But the whole section was how a particular person thinks about that matter, and or how sensitive they are to particular society, or how can they contribute as a responsible manager to society. So overall, the panelists there are not to judge your technical knowledge, but they want to know you more about how you are actually as a person, or how will you contribute once you graduate here from SPJIMR.
So how I approach this is that GI1 is the foundation level, and GI2 is to know how you are as a person. Now SPJIMR places a lot of emphasis on the 5 principles, the 5 strokes. I think you better read up on that on the website. I think everybody will recommend that. But then knowing what to answer, where to answer, how to answer. Now as a fresher, I felt intimidated when I was sitting next to a person with 2-3 years of work experience, because honestly they were more well spoken than I am. So I needed to keep that in mind to not sound as a fresher, and that helped me a lot. I'd like to highlight an instance from my GI2. The interviewer asked us as to if a person is wanting to leave your organization, and you want to retain them, right? So how would you do that? This was an HR question, nothing related to my specialization. Yet they wanted to judge how I am as a manager on the general level. Another question was that you are a consultant to the government, and if you had to choose any problem in the world and you had all the resources, what would be your solution? Honestly, the first answer that I gave was in the air. It was a fresher answer as I would determine it. And the interview was like, no, use it, you answer. And that took me back a little. But then I regained my foot, and after everybody answered, I gave a suitably nice reply, I like to think that. So I think it's very important to stay calm, not to think yourself as a lesser person, because you are there for a reason. And just enjoy the interview. They're not there to eliminate you, they're there to select you. That's how I do it.
Another important thing to consider that I feel is to have your opinion on everything. Like, it's good to know about what is going on in the world, but you also need to have an opinion on it. So in my interview, the topics that were brought up were veganism, freedom of speech, and also whether we should tax the rich more. And everyone in my panel, they gave a view that was the opposite of mine. And yet I was the only one who was selected. Like, all of them were actively arguing against the points that I was putting forward, even though it was not a group discussion. But they asked everyone the same question. So it's okay to have your own opinion, and you should have an opinion on everything. It's not enough to know about it.
And just to add on to Bhavya's point, once more thing, because I just remembered an incident which happened in my GI2. Generally, you will find people giving you an advice that you should not deviate from your stand, whatever your opinion is. And that's the right advice, not wrong. But after a point in my interview, it went to the point you had to deviate from it, because that guy, he had in his mind that no, I should not deviate. But it was like very, very evident in the eyes of the interviewer that he wants you to deviate from that point of view, because he's not at all agreeing to it. So you need to recognize that till when should you hold your foot. But after a point, you might have to.
So what the interviewers like is to put you on a spot. Right. They'll ask a very general question and your opinion on that. And I'll give you an example. So you're giving an examination and you have a friend, a very good friend of yours sitting behind you who is cheating from others. You see that, but since he's your friend, you don't rag on him. Now the question is whether you should or you should not rag on him. Now the general thing that you would do is not. But then again, it depends on how you frame your answer. The answer could be yes and no. This is how you justify it. If you say that you're not going to, you're going to rat on him, then the interviewer would ask that he's the sole bread earner in his family. His mom and dad, they are very poor farmers who are off in the village, and this is the only hope of him securing a good job and maybe fending for his family. So would he still do it? Now, these are certain layers that the interviewers like to build upon and put you on the spot, as I said. So it's very important, as Akshat said, to not fixate on something. They want you to have an opinion, but also be broad-minded and dynamic. You need to accept others' opinions while maintaining your own stand. That's very important.
There's not really any specific preparation that you can do for GI2. The only thing I would highly recommend you to do is that skim the website of SPJIMR in and out. know everything about that goes on in the PGDM program. We have a lot of non-classroom learning programs. So just to give you an example, like AdMap, DOCC, I won't go into what they are, but I would recommend you to go through the website and know about all of that. The interviews do ask these things.
I have one of the I have a point to add. So there is one exciting preparation which you all can do is to be thorough with some of the recent movies or the web series. So there was a question in my GI2 which revolved around the one of the recent movie which was launched on Netflix. So we had a brief discussion on it. So I would highly recommend to be thorough with some of the recent web series so that you can answer those questions very well.
In addition to this, contrary to everyone, my interview went on a very different experience. They have asked us, each one of us, to describe in 3 adjectives. Then the scenarios, you need to give an example of the scenarios of each adjective. Why are you describing yourself in that adjective? And you need to justify. So it's completely random. There's no specific preparation you can do. You can be the person you are. That is the best advice.
Alright, so thank you everyone. We hope that this would be very useful for the students who will be sitting for their group interviews soon. And we would like to end this with a SPJIMR tradition. So all the very best from EOD Talks team and SPJIMR community. Thank you.